Hello, my name is Mahit Patil and welcome to my presentation for MQBS1030, Decision Making for Business. This presentation analyses how macroeconomic conditions, specifically interest rate increases, have affected consumer decisions and the broader EU market in Australia. I'll be using real-world style data and applying two key economic frameworks, demand and supply, and consumer and producer choice, alongside analytical techniques in Excel such as summary statistics, charting, and regression analysis to uncover insights that can support better business decisions for EV manufacturer dealers.
In recent years, Australia has seen growing environmental awareness and government support for electric vehicles. However, from 2022 onwards, EV demand growth slowed significantly. The core problem I'm investing is, how have rising interest rates affected consumer demand for EVs? For this analysis, I used a real-style dataset modelled on Reserve Bank of Australia data between 2022 and 2024. It includes monthly values for interest rates, EV sales, and average EV prices. By analysing this dataset, I aim to identify whether there is a measurable relationship between rising borrowing costs and reduced EV sales volumes, which in turn affects producers' pricing strategies and profitability. Let's begin with the demand and supply framework. In a competitive EV market, the equilibrium price and quantity are determined by whether consumer demand meets producer supply. As interest rates increase, the cost of financing car purchases also rises. This leads to a leftward shift in the demand curve, as fewer consumers are willing and able to afford EVs through loans. Producers facing lower demand respond by offering discounts, incentives, or slower production to prevent unsold inventory. This market dynamic reflects a new equilibrium: lower quantity sold and slightly reduced average price. This framework helps explain the macroeconomic mechanism behind the observed decline in sales during Australia's interest rate hikes from 2022 onwards. Next, we apply the consumer and producer choice framework. From the consumer perspective, high interest rates reduce disposable income, increasing the opportunity cost of purchasing a vehicle. Consumers may delay their EV purchase, opt for cheaper models, or switch to traditional petrol vehicles. From the producer's perspective, high financing costs also affect investment decisions. Manufacturers may scale back production expansion, reduce advertising spending, or shift their pricing strategy to maintain competitiveness. Overall, both sides of the market adjust their behavior. Consumers seek affordability, and producers balance their profit margins, creating a feedback loop that amplifies demand fluctuations during high interest periods. This slide presents summary statistics for the dataset, including the mean, minimum, and maximum values for each variable. We can see that the average interest rate over the period was around 2.8%, while the average EV sales were about 6,000 units per month, with noticeable variations, a minimum of around 4,000 and a maximum of nearly 7,500. Average EV prices showed a gradual downward trend, indicating potential price adjustments by producers in response to weaker demand. These statistics give us a snapshot of the data distribution and highlight the variation that we'll explore more deeply using visualization and regression analysis. This line chart visualizes EV sales and interest rates over time. The dashed blue line represents the interest rates, while the orange line represents the EV sales per month, scaled for visual comparison. From 2020 to early 2022, interest rates were at a historic low, and EV sales increased steadily. However, starting mid-2022, as the RBA began a series of rate hikes to combat inflation, interest rates rose sharply, and EV sales began to decline. This inverse relationship visually supports the economic theory we discussed earlier. It's also consistent with broader industry reports indicating that EV demand growth slowed significantly from 2023 to 2024, especially from mid-range models financed through consumer loans. To confirm the relationship statistically, I ran a simple linear regression where EV sales were the dependent variable and interest rates were the independent variable. The regression output showed a negative slope coefficient, indicating that for each 1% increase in the interest rate, EV sales declined by approximately 700 to 900 units per month. This finding quantitatively validates the visual pattern we observed earlier. The regression line on this scatter plot clearly slopes downwards, showing how higher borrowing costs discourage EV purchases. This result provides actionable insight for EV producers. It highlights the importance of offering financial incentives, flexible payment plans, or price reductions to mainstream sales during periods of monetary tightness. In conclusion, this analysis demonstrates how combining economic theory and data analytics can provide meaningful insights for real-world business decisions. Using the demand and supply and consumer choice frameworks, I identified how interest rate fluctuations directly impact both consumers' purchasing power and producers' pricing strategies. Through Excel-based summary statistics, charting, and regression, I supported these theories with concrete data evidence. From an employability perspective, this project showcases key professional skills: data analysis, economic reasoning, and communication, all of which are highly valuable business analyst, financial consultant, or strategy roles. It also demonstrates the ability to integrate quantitative tools with economic understanding to solve complex business problems, a critical capability in today's data-driven economy. Thank you for listening.